big data and data analytics is definitely become very crucial in for organizations to use to help them reach their business objectives.
Yeah, it's all about information at your fingertips. It's actionable, including, being able to serve your employees. The most important thing is how can you serve your employees? Create an infrastructure that allows you to do this, number one, and two, serve your employees in a different way. If you look at what Gartner says, Gartner has this great slide that they put up, and they say these are the 3 areas that are going to be where everyone's putting their money, right? When I try to think of where the trends are, I look at where people are putting their money, and I say, well, that tells me the most concrete trend that will happen. And they're essentially putting their money around reinventing business processes to deal with all these things we just talked about. They're putting their money around their people so that they can make the people smarter and have information systems that work and that teach them and learn them in a moment every day. So it's no longer about the 2-week class. It's about give me information as I need it right now so that I can serve my customer. And then the next thing is, finding new ways to engage with your customers and push information to them in a moment of notice, right? At an actual moment that you need to be able to trigger. And so the whole thing requires new skill sets. The whole thing requires new systems and new thinking about business processes. You can't design applications anymore to be single-threaded. They have to be end-to-end. You have to think about that entire business process. And people are at least as important as they were in the past, right? But now, to Robert's point, they are more specialized, and they need to be, at the same time as being more specialized, they need to be extremely agile to support the agile economy.
Addie, how do you think you can use big data and data analytics to help shape the way people learn?
So I couldn't agree more with my colleagues, Robert and Jean. I think you've seen in the media, of course, data has changed the consumer behavior, and technology has changed the consumer behavior, of course. But I look at data maybe from a more humanitarian perspective, right? And I say, what is the value of us knowing about Ebola a month earlier? What if we knew a month earlier? What would we have done differently? And would we have done anything differently, right? Because we knew about Ebola 12 years ago and we did nothing differently. So would we do something differently this time? Could we have protected or prevented more death? So I think it's not only about data. Data is critical, but human nature is critical here, and our ability to be responsible, to look at data and make the right decisions. Because a lot of, David Hume said, vice and virtue are perceptions of our mind, like color and sound. So as humans, we make good or bad decisions. We look at data, and the data could turn anyway. So I'm a big believer in data, but I do believe that if we can use it to address big social issues, there is so much we can gain from. If you look at GIS data, and we look at GIS data globally, right? I mean, if we can help people to find a well easier, or if we can help people through the data analytics and connecting it with environmental data, with social data, with economic data, if we can say 1 inch less rain in South Sudan will cause unrest in 5 years. And we can move from crisis reaction, which we do, to crisis prevention. If we could do that, there's huge value. I also want to just mention that when you look at traffic online, 70 to 80% is non-human, right? Non-human traffic. And when we it's not humans that are making decisions. With the changes of technology to artificial intelligence, it's algorithm that makes decisions. If you look at the new search engine Google is developing, so we don't have humans as consumers necessarily. We have good line of code, which is learning very fast. And I don't think we know how to connect with that, because it is getting so much smarter than we are, humans, right? We are getting smarter because machine learning and artificial intelligence, at some point it will become a lot smarter than we are. And the world changes, and the learning will change. And our understanding of data, of me analyzing the data versus good algorithm analyzing the data, is very different. And I think, and I worry, whether, our stubbornness as humans, because we've made so many decisions based on intuition and gut feel, not knowledge, not data. If we begin to pass that phase, when we understand the world better, and whether we use that to evolve to the next phase. Thank you.
Robert, do you want to talk about your experience with big data and data analytics, how you're using it?
Sure. I'll say a couple things. First, I want to use a quote from Manuel Castells that I like. Technology is neither good nor bad, nor is it neutral. I think that's what Addie's saying, is technology is great, and the fact that our machines are learning through algorithms is great. Question is, how are we using it? So within public relations, the way we're using data is who is the audience we're trying to reach? What channel is that audience on? What's their favorite app? And what is their conversation? What are they saying to each other? What do they find valuable to discuss, right? So we need to know that. That's all data. It's accessible. Then we can see the impact of our brand messaging or our clients' communications toward that audience. And we can measure that almost down to the seconds. How many seconds did they spend reading this? Did they go to the end of the video? How many people did they share it with? Whom did they share it with, for example? So we can get extremely precise in our understanding of the target audience, how they think and feel, what channels they use, and what they find of value. At the same time, it's not going to have any value to us or our client if our content, our creativity isn't also good. I think that's partly what Addie is saying. We still are going to have to be creative. In fact, we're going to have to be even more creative. Because now, in the public relations sense, we have to produce creative content for a specific audience at a specific moment in time across a specific channel that's meaningful to that group. So we still, thank God, still need the human being involved with our own creativity. And we're still able to do things machines really can't do. They really can't do that kind of creative connection of content to an audience. So that's how we're using data, but it's not the whole story. We still have to use our creativity. I'll stop there.
Yeah, I'd like to actually follow up with that a little bit because I completely agree with everything that was said here, and both about how we use data, how we choose to engage with it, and whether or not we actually do something meaningful with it. And I think in this new age of digitization and the ability to see all these things for the first time, because there's always been the data out there, right? For most parts, there's always been the data, but it's never been produced in a way. I think what's happening with technology these days is that data is being produced in a way that is actually actionable, that is a little bit more consumable, right? Because we just can't take raw data and look at it. We have to see what the data means, and that means for all of us, we have to all learn what are the right questions to ask. If you ask all the wrong questions, you're going to get the wrong data. If you ask the right questions, and if you think about the problems that you're trying to solve in the correct way, then you can actually use that data to design new things. The whole point of technology is it should help you to be smarter so that you can do new designs on where you want to go. So it changes your decisions, it changes your behavior on what you want to do, and it changes the way you can serve your audience, whatever that audience is. And to do that, of course, we have to all be very, very good at this idea of, thinking about the problems we are trying to solve, and the best way to solve them. And to do that, we need the right kind of data, which means we have to ask the right questions, the right kind of targeted questions to get the data we want. And then, of course, the next thing is to automate those decisions. We as humans will, whether it's in the learning environment, whether it's in the consumer retail environment, whether it's in publishing or serving up information to people that really need to understand what's going on in the world, we'll need to be able to design our way towards producing that kind of insight. The machine's not going to do it on its own. Machines are there to be fed, and once they get fed, they can produce a lot of data. And if you ask the right questions, it can give you the data. but you have to ask the right questions. So I think our skill sets have to evolve to be not just, we all talk about the creatives, right? The new age of the creative, which is going to be a big CLO challenge, by the way. If you talk to CEOs across the globe, they'll tell you, my biggest problem is finding innovative talent. And it's not so much finding innovative talent, it's actually tapping into the innovation that already exists in your organization that you don't even know about. And to do that, you need to be able to engage people in a new way at scale that allows you to find them and allows you to engage them and allows you to put them to use on new kinds of innovative projects. One of the things that we've been doing at Cisco is we run these innovation campaigns inside of our organization, and sometimes it's a hackathon, sometimes it's just business, just generate a whole bunch of good business ideas on how to solve a particular problem. And then what we do is we've found a way to take, if you will, the collective intelligence and innovation within the organization, bring that forward into some ideas that can get sponsored, and then take that all the way through the end of the funnel. If you can do that through the learning organization, if you can create innovation programs through the learning organization, you will rise, fourfold in your relevance to the management team, because that's what they're looking for. They think they don't have innovative, they actually do, they're just not tapping into it and they don't know where it is. And so having those kinds of things that allow you to surface it and then take them through the cycle of, ideation through execution, that's really what's meaningful. We're going to be, and we are today, in a world where we're continuously finding new problems we're going to have to solve, because the problems aren't, as soon as we solve one, 10 more pop up. So being able to act on that and find the right kind of people that can solve that particular problem, that have that expertise in that problem, finding those resources that have that knowledge base is really, really critical. So it's tools so that they can find the information, and secondly, finding the people that can engage and actually design their way to solving the next problem.